I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett, yeah. The man is a menace, yeah. Building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you won't regret it. Sly as a fox, cultured in pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box, and you cannot compare them at all. So don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean Dyer, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, yeah. Fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, woo. Fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Roundtable Podcast, brought to you guys by the Pigskin Podcast Network. You can find them at PigskinPodNet on Twitter, or you can search the hashtag TPPN as we go live. Ton of great podcasts on there: basketball, football, baseball, soccer, and even wrestling. Check them out for all of your sporting needs. It is Friday, January 28th. We will be previewing the conference championship games, Chiefs, Bengals, and 49ers, Rams. We'll talk about all of the recent new coach hirings, including one that may happen here very soon, it looks like, with the New York Giants. And then hopefully, if we move quick enough, we'll get to more of those QB profiles before we close out the show today. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this fantastic Friday?
I'm doing fantastic. Looks like I'm already freezing like crazy, too. Am I talking or frozen? Okay, good.
You're talking.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. You're not frozen and talking.
Looked up and saw the open mouth shot of my face, and that was untimely. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Man, it's just been cold as hell up here. I'm glad to get through the week. I've been battling a head cold, tested negative for COVID, so that means I'm at Pinewood Derby tomorrow. With the youngin', we had to make the Pinewood Derby car this week. So, trying to get to Sunday to watch some football. May go out to dinner with the wife when we wrap up the show here. I think that's going to be the highlight of my week. No offense to you guys.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a deep freeze here. Today it was better. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend, and then we're supposed to get like polar vortex air in the middle of next week. Right about the time that most of my coworkers get to go to a conference in Dallas. It's going to be like -2 degrees. I thought, well, not a good week to be left behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not going to be -2 here next week, but it is going to be in like the 30s, so it'll be cold Texas-wise, just so you know.
That's
so,
the Texas equivalent of -2.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm not going to lie. I've been to Colorado in like a blizzard, and I was still able to wear a short. I wear shorts here too, but it just feels colder down here, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's such a dry cold. It's really, really frustrating. But regardless, they won't have a good time because there's a chance that like all of Texas will shut down once it grows. Because it's supposed to be like a 14 to 18 on Tuesday or Thursday and Friday next week. I don't know if they'll be here that long. The state could shut down. Just
you mean like degrees?
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it actually makes me feel better about them going. They'll be there all week
now.
Screw those guys.
Bad news for you. When are they getting here? Because it's going to be like 60 degrees Monday through Wednesday. And then it just like plummets after Wednesday.
Yeah, they go in Monday.
It'll be beautiful Monday and Tuesday. Like a high of 65, low of 50. So beautiful, beautiful. Anyways.
Well,
go ahead.
Can't catch a break. Meanwhile, here it's so dry. I had to consent to letting my wife put lotion on my hands twice a day so it doesn't just spontaneously bleed during the day.
I literally just did the same thing.
I'm an old hillbilly from the country, and growing up, in the winter we always had a pot of water on boiling to add humidity back into the air because it was the fuel oil stove and the wood burning stoves and the heat. It just dried everything out. So we just always had a pot of water on.
I wasn't sure where this was going to go. I thought maybe you're going to tell us like a remedy is to like pee on your hands outside or something. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'll take the lotion.
That's
for calluses.
Or a stingray. If you get hit by a stingray, or I think is it a stingray?
Yeah.
Yeah, stingray.
It's a jellyfish.
Jellyfish. I apologize. Yes, jellyfish. Make sure to pee on it. Just so you know, your home remedies today from the Fantasy Football Roundtable crew. All right, let's talk about some of the news and the coaching hires. Matt, we'll kick it off with your Denver Broncos, and then bringing in Nathaniel Hackett. I will say, I did like his quote today that he's going to try and give Matt LaFleur a run for his money on the sexiest coach in the NFL. That was very funny, well delivered, so I did love that part. Outside of that, though, what are your thoughts on them bringing in Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach?
I mean, it could be fine. I had my good Twitter joke that's very on brand for Denver to hire a new head coach who, with a loaded offense, just managed to score 10 points in his final home game. He didn't call the plays there, so you never really know, especially when it's an offensive coordinator paired with an offensive genius head coach, how much, like the Packers obviously won 39 games over the last 3 years and had a top 10 offense each year. Is that a lot because of Hackett? Is that a lot because of Matt LaFleur? I guess we'll find out next year. We wondered the same thing when Taylor left Sean McVay and went to Cincinnati, and eventually he got it turned around. Denver has some good pieces. The biggest question is quarterback, and I think all the overwhelming excitement is they think that hiring Hackett means automatically that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are coming here. I'm not convinced that that's entirely true. I thought, Dennis, you had an excellent point that if Rodgers comes and they win, that's what was expected. If he comes and doesn't win, then it's all on Hackett, so he may not want that. We also have the number 9 pick. I feel like George Patton has tracked more toward wanting to go get a rookie quarterback option and keep one of the veterans they have. They have a lot of pieces. I just hope for a little more excitement in watching Denver. The last 5 years, watching them play offense has taken a piece of my soul.
No, Hackett, he's not going to get a ton of credit for what happened in Green Bay. I mean, he had Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and LaFleur, and he was, for all intents and purposes, offensive coordinator in name only. But he did have the 5th highest scoring offense in his first year in Jacksonville. I want to say that was 2015, maybe.
His best Jacksonville year was actually 17 when they went to the conference championship. He started as the quarterback's coach for the first couple of years in Jacksonville.
Right. But when I was looking up today, and I wrote it on a Post-it that's on my desk at work, and he was where his teams finished points-wise since he has been his first offensive coordinator stint in Buffalo, and when he was the OC in Jacksonville and QB coach in Jacksonville. So he has, and I feel like the Jacksonville one is probably a better barometer for what his potential is. But honestly, teams with good players score a lot more points. So to put a whole bunch, that's hashtag analysis there. To put a lot of stock in what happened in Green Bay with the team they had and the head coach, who was, for all intents and purposes, an offensive wonderkind. He's got his work cut out for him. Now, the running game, he's got some good pieces on defense. He's got good tight ends, good wide receivers. So they will need to figure out a way to get explosiveness from the quarterback position. It'll be so. What is this? What Patton's second year, third year? How long?
Second year.
So it's really, I think, more a testament to what's Patton going to do as the GM. Is he going to get him the tools he needs to put together an offense?
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be some truth to this. I mean, I remember last year before the draft, Matt, we were sitting talking about all of the rumors about how there was all this talks between Denver, right? That they were trying to go get Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they feel like getting Hackett and bringing him there is a better shot. I will say, if we're going just like full on tinfoil hat rumor mill here, supposedly his fiance,
that is Aaron Rodgers full on tinfoil hat.
That is true. That she lives in the Boulder area like most of the year, and he spends his summers there. So maybe that is a reason why he wants to go there. The big thing is, like, Green Bay has to trade him, though. He's not a free agent, and I don't know that they let him out of his contract. So
Also, his track record with staying with women, not impeccable. So if that's what you're banking on,
that's neither here nor there. I don't really pay that close attention to that stuff outside of I heard that it was like the other morning, but I don't know. I think that it would be a good move for them, regardless of his antics off the field. He is one of the best on the field as a quarterback, and I do think that he would raise that entire level. I just don't know that Green Bay would trade both, or that Denver would have enough to get both of them. Because, I mean, I guess
Adams is
they
a free
could get
agent,
Adams,
so
but
it's whether they tag him.
that was all the talk, though. All season was that they were going to tag him. So I'm interested to see. I would like that to Denver, because more just as selfishly as a football fan, and seeing three of the best quarterbacks in the game being all in one division, you're going to get multiple matchups every year of Rodgers, Herbert, Rodgers, Mahomes. I mean, that's awesome, in my opinion. It's what I wanted out of the Super Bowl this year. So I would be all for it, but I don't know that Hackett coming there seals that in any kind of way, because, again, the Packers are going to have to make that trade. I don't even know what that trade looks like at this point. Last year made more sense with them having the multiple first-round picks. This year, I don't know what they'd have to give up.
That's the thing. The reports are that it would be 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 players, one of our defensive stars and a couple of our offensive stars. Either Judy or Sutton would have to go.
I mean, Judy makes sense in the fact they didn't re-sign him.
That would be the only reason I'd be excited to get Aaron Rodgers, is to get Judy out of town.
I mean, he's the only one they haven't re-signed. So, but 3 firsts, 2 seconds.
But
and
to be
2
fair,
players,
Judy's only going into his 3rd season. They have 3 more years on a rookie contract. I mean, there is no rush to re-sign him or KJ Hamler.
Yeah. All right. Sean Payton out as coach in New Orleans. This one kind of came as a shock, I think, to most everybody. We had heard he was talking about, like, just taking a step back, but I don't think anybody expected him to completely just retire. I shouldn't say retire, but step away from the game. He has been very adamant he is not coming back to coach, at least this year. I think this puts Mike McCarthy on the hottest of hot seats, because I think if he doesn't win this coming season, that it's going to be Sean Payton in there the year after. But because he has all those connections to Dallas. But Dennis, what are your thoughts on Sean Payton now leaving New Orleans? What does this mean for Payton, and what does this mean for New Orleans?
New Orleans is in a tough spot. They've got some aging players with big contracts. They don't have much cap space. Honestly, they're kind of a mess when it comes to roster building and roster construction. In my opinion, that's kind of a black mark against Payton, that he, they get to a point where he literally is going to have to rebuild the team. And he's like, peace out. I'm done. I need a break. I've been stressed out. I got to take a break. I know you need to go take care of your mentals and whatnot, but it comes off as not doing the team a solid when the team really has been there for him and brought him in, and him and Drew Brees, and they became the face of New Orleans, and he kind of just left it in shambles in his wake. It makes sense that he'll want to go to Dallas. I mean, they've got a lot of players, and Jerry Jones likes to spend money. And, whether or not that works, it's been a while since Dallas has been in the Super Bowl, and maybe Sean Payton is the one. Maybe he's not. I almost feel like he's looking at somebody like Mike Shanahan, who does a lot of consulting now, and Bill Parcells, who was his mentor, who's, gets called up, Bill Polian. These guys get called up and they do consulting. They make a handsome salary, and they get to have input and make suggestions on teams' approach to free agency and the draft and coaching changes. And they don't have any of the pressure that goes along with it if it doesn't work out. So, I imagine he's only he's like 60, 58, something like that. So I feel like he'll be back on the sideline within a couple years. And Dallas seems to make the most sense given him having coached there, and
He is 58.
and I don't know if he lives there or lives near there. There's too much smoke for there not to be fire, and I don't think any of us hold McCarthy in super high regard,
Including Jerry Jones and Stephen
Yeah.
Jones.
He does live here, by the way. Sean Payton has a house. I don't remember exactly where it's at.
just up
but
the street from you.
No, it's in a much, 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 much nicer neighborhood than mine. Not that my neighborhood's bad,
but you do go over there for barbecues during the summer.
When he asks, yes, but I haven't seen him in quite a bit. COVID's kind of restricted us from being able to hang out. So smart man.
I didn't think they had
he does
COVID rules in Texas.
They really don't.
It's nice. It's nice to see you're making smart decisions.
It really doesn't. If you guys ever listen to Ray's morning show, he talks about that because he lives here too. I mean, there's really not much of anything you can't do in Texas. They're pretty open to just about anything down here.
I live there, man. I live there. I feel it.
Yeah.
Back to football before we get voted off of Texas entirely. Matt, if you need a place to stay, I've prepped the guest room. So.
I feel like Texas is used to me bashing him at this point, and I feel like I'm pretty safe in my love-hate relationship with Texas.
He gave them a long time. He came into New Orleans in a tough time in the city's history, and I agree they became the face of it. But at the same time, Breeze is gone. He did a pretty masterful job, in my opinion, in 2021 of getting them to 9-8. They probably should have been in the playoffs instead of the Eagles. And did that with Trevor Siemian, Jameis Winston, and Taysom Hill combining at quarterback. He's not their GM. They actually have a GM who has allowed them to go $70 million over the cap. They probably are at a point in time where realistically the best thing for the franchise is to clear the decks and start over. And I know what you're saying. You could perceive it as leaving them in a lurch, but I actually think it's a perfect time to open the door for somebody else to come in and build their team and put their stamp on the franchise. I mean, these are some of the questions we've had about Belichick in New England. Is it time for him to let somebody else, have a shot? And he's decided he wants to stay and keep building, but I don't begrudge Peyton for saying, I think I'm ready for a break to do something else and to let somebody else create a legacy.
What do you think of the talk that Dennis Allen is kind of the favorite to get promoted from within? Do you feel like that's just a placeholder hire?
I don't know. He's done a fantastic job with their defense. He was Denver's defensive coordinator for a time during some of the Manning years. He's been a good coordinator. I don't know if he'd be a great head coach. They're looking supposedly at Brian Flores too. They have pieces on defense. It seems to be the place that they're most solid. Offense, I would suspect, Michael Thomas may not be long for the franchise. They've got to figure out what the hell they're doing at quarterback. I feel bad for Alvin Kamara, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to his best friend in Taysom Hill, because he sure as hell took care of him before he left. I mean, my goodness.
None of that's guaranteed, though. They can
I know.
Drop him like a potato. I would say Taysom Hill's
joke.
probably screwed.
He probably is, yeah, with Peyton gone. Yeah, I do. So I get what both you guys are saying. I do kind of agree that him leaving now is probably better for New Orleans because they still have time to try and find a new head coach. It'd been a lot worse if he waited like 2 months. And then was like, yeah, you know what? I just don't feel it. 16 years with one team is a long time. I mean, he was the longest tenured head coach outside of Bill Belichick. So I do like that he's not going straight in. I think it'd be really weird if he's like, I don't know that I can coach. And then in 2 weeks, we see him with the Dallas Cowboys. That would definitely not be a pretty
I've lost
sight,
the joy for coaching until I had lunch with Dak.
Yeah,
we've seen that happen a lot though.
You know what they call that? You know what they call that in Florida?
What's that?
Doing the Urban Meyer.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, we've seen that a lot in college. We've seen these coaches say, hey, I don't want to coach anymore. They take a year off and then they're right back in it with the team that they really want to be with once that opening happens. So
Arians did arguably the same thing when the Cardinals got to a point where it was like, you're going to have to rebuild. Like, I think I'm too old to coach. And then all of a sudden he's back in Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Yep. So breaking news as we were talking about Sean Payton, Brian Dabal is official to the Giants. Is an interesting landing spot. It was down between him and Flores from what everybody was saying. I thought Flores would have been a better hire. I do get the Dayball thing. I think a lot of it is they're hoping. We saw the comments from John Mara earlier this week that he feels like they have failed Daniel Jones. It is not Daniel Jones failing them. I do kind of like them coming out and saying that. They're not like throwing him out underneath the bus and then backing up over him. They're taking the blame, which in all honesty, we rarely see owners and GMs do. They do not really take ownership of mistakes. And I think it's fair to say Daniel Jones hasn't had a lot around him. Dayball is credited for turning Josh Allen around. Matt, do we percentage wise, you think that he might be able to do something like that for Daniel Jones? As if we're being honest,
Jones didn't have a bad year.
He didn't, but I also think is it fair to say that Jones is not as talented as Josh
Allen? Probably not. He can't do. He's definitely not the runner. Josh Allen is an incredible dual threat, but he has a much better running back behind him. What I like about the pairing here is you figure he's going to help with an offense that we thought already had nice pieces that should have been better. I mean, Kenny Galladay's there. You still have Slayton. You still have Kadarius Toney. I can't remember if Shepard's contract is up or not.
I believe he's a free agent, and that's what sucked.
But you have at least
that injury, so.
Yeah, you have at least a couple guys. Maybe Shepard comes back cheap. Maybe they draft somebody. You still have Saquon there, so they have some good pieces. The GM that the Giants got was somebody that Dabal had in Buffalo, so they're going to be a pretty good team if they can get a couple of good defensive pieces and a couple of offensive linemen. This team was 6-10 in 2020. And kind of in the running for a division, despite having not a ton of good coaching execution or talent. I think Daniel Jones played a lot better than he was given credit for last year. Hurt his neck, kind of went out. We saw how dreadful that team was when he went out, which is kind of a credit to what he was doing for them despite some obstacles. They didn't have a very good organizational feel by the end there. Joe Judge had some Adam Gase level press conferences on his way out. So maybe they need to start over. We've liked the offenses that Dabal has run. I think a big key there is going to be hopefully they get a strong defensive coordinator that he can team with.
Yeah, I like the hire. I think, Dabal will lead the structure of the offense. It'll be interesting to see who he brings in as an offensive coordinator. Because I know sometimes when these guys get their first bite of the apple, they get saddled with maybe coaches that they're not necessarily 100% sold on. And I know the Maras came out and were saying, we didn't do Daniel Jones any favors. And then somebody asked, so you're going to let Joe Schoen hire the coach? And Mara said, well, no, ownership makes the decision on who the coach is. So, granted, Schoen and Dayball kind of have a history together, and so that's going to be definitely good. But if the Maras stick their nose in on who the offensive coordinator is, and it's somebody that doesn't mesh well with what Dayball wants to do offensively, I want to see. I think Kadarius Toney has the potential to just blow up. But they really, until they get some offensive linemen, they're going to struggle on offense. It's just how it is. I'm a big proponent of you build a team from the inside out. I haven't looked to see what the Giants' draft capital is right now, but they need at least 2 starting offensive linemen on that team to add to what they got. And that's if they don't lose any of the shitty guys they got.
That Andrew Thomas pick, I think, still looms large because it didn't turn out the way that they were hoping. But I mean, when you spend a high first-round pick on a tackle and it doesn't work out, that almost sets you further back.
Yeah,
it's funny that you say that because I remember us. That was the draft of the 3 of us. And I was pissed because I wanted Andrew.
This
Thomas.
is the guy I wanted.
Yeah. No.
You still want him?
Gotta love Andrew Berry. He's so much smarter than me. So the Giants, first round at least, I don't have all their picks in front of me, but I do have their first round because Matt and myself just did a mock draft. I'll be releasing a video about that on Monday, and we will have an article up on the website. They have I just had it and I forgot again. 5th and 7th pick in the first round. So they've got 2 top 10 picks. I believe in the mock draft. I'm almost positive we went offensive line on one of them. I'll just pull it up and spoil that for you guys, even though that is coming on Monday. Giants. Where are you at, Giants? Giants, we took that is incorrect. I picked for both of the Giants, and I went defense on both picks, so I take that back. Derek Stingley Jr. and George Kalafdis is who I took for them because who was it? Evan Neal went earlier, and then the only other guy is I don't know how to say his name, but the kid out of NC State, and he went in between those picks. So regardless,
I was like, I picked a tackle somewhere.
Yeah, it was unfortunately the Panthers. Those assholes stole the pick. I do think that, I agree with what Matt said. Yeah, that they do probably need some defensive players as well. It's going to be interesting. I wonder if Dabal just calls the offense himself this year to see how that goes. I wonder if that's why the Mara Rooney ownership group were so sold on him because of what he's done with Josh Allen. That's why I want to bring him in. He's been very successful as a offensive coordinator. Many people don't seem to remember he was also the offensive coordinator for Tua as well in Alabama. So he's helped develop some quarterbacks. Maybe I was just a year early on Daniel Jones. Thought this was the year. Maybe it's next year. Kevin Colbert is stepping down after the draft. Dennis, what does this mean for Pittsburgh's personnel department?
I think that's it. It feels like Tomlin after, what's he been there now? 10, 11 years. It might be the opportunity for him to.
I think he's been here there 15 years.
Yeah, it seems, I didn't want to overshoot too much, but he's been there a long time, and it feels like him sort of stepping into a larger role on the personnel side, which at some point may paved the way for him to actually step up to the general manager.
15 years. He came in 2007, 1 year after Peyton.
Rooney kind of made it sound in the press conference today like Matt Canada wasn't going anywhere. When asked about some of the deficiencies, he basically said, well, Matt's going to have to fix those. So they're keeping Canada. They don't have, they're kind of in the same boat as New York. They need offensive linemen. It'll be interesting to see how much power the new guy has because Colbert was there for quite a long time. And what they've always been known for has been a really, really strong personnel department that gets the right players and develops them. And I don't know, this is the first time in recent memory that they're going to be having to make changes on that front. And I don't know if Tomlin is going to want to say, hey, let's promote somebody from within into that role, and I'm going to just keep doing what I do, or if Tomlin is going to say, I've been here 15 years and I've got some ideas.
Well, the other thing is if he's not stepping down until after the draft, free agency primarily takes place before the draft. By the time you get there, so it's not really – the impact of this, I'm not saying it's not impactful. You'll really see next off season.
Yeah, what I don't like about this is what you just mentioned. He's doing it after the draft. Like, unless they've got something in place with, like Baltimore did with, I believe it was Ozzie Newsome, where like he drafted that final class, but they were kind of in lockstep. Like, why wouldn't you just let the new staff come in and make these final picks? Why are you having the guy who's going to literally step down the minute the draft is over with, make all your picks? I really don't like that.
Ozzie was really good at it.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying. But they also had a plan and process. Right?
I remember that Ozzie some pretty incredible drafts too.
They have, and that's what I was about to say. I mean, far be me to criticize one of the better run organizations in the NFL. It just seems a little odd to me on that point. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben has officially retired. Matt, any thoughts?
So Mason Rudolph Mason. Well, if you're talking about Hall of Fame, I mentioned this before. I would not say, there was 3 marquee guys from his draft class, 2004: Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger. I could see all 3 of them or none of them making the Hall of Fame, and neither of those things would surprise me. I listened to PTI yesterday and Mike Wobon talking about Ben Roethlisberger being a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. I guess there are people out there that really loved him. I don't think he was a bad quarterback, but I don't know if I ever thought he was one of the greats of all time. He definitely was very successful. You know, he never had a losing season as a starter, probably because he played almost his entire career with Tomlin, who has never had a losing season as a coach. He put up some good numbers. It was time for him to go, though. No offense to him, but he did not look like the same quarterback at the tail end of last year and then all through 2021. And I think it's better for him to go out with. It was great that they were able to rally at the end of the season, get him into the playoffs one last time. I think that's a win. And he can go out. Now there's a lot of questions, for Pittsburgh. They're not typically a team that goes and gets a big free agent. Dwayne Haskins is a restricted free agent. You figure they'll probably retain him for cheap. They still have one more year of Mason Rudolph. I think you and I both felt when we were doing the mock that at the number 20 spot, we could see them taking a quarterback. That feels more likely to me than them trying to trade for a high dollar veteran or signing somebody in free agency.
Yeah, I don't think they're probably going to sign a starter caliber veteran. But I could see him bringing in a Colt McCoy or a Case Keenum or a Taylor Heineke type quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, somebody that is just that bridge that is literally, look, we're just going to get through this year. We need a veteran presence. But I don't know. When I think of Ben in the Hall of Fame, I always ask, at any point in his career, did I say this is the best quarterback in the game? And the answer is no. It didn't. He was a very good quarterback. Put him in the Hall of very good. I'd personally keep him out. I think, back to Colbert though, potentially Omar Khan, who I think is his right hand man, the VP of football and business admin. That might be their plan for Colbert, is for Khan to take over after the draft.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what Pittsburgh does, because I've been very on board the strategy of, if you don't have your franchise quarterback, you should continue drafting one every year until you get one. I feel like they're going to go the route of rolling with Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins, try and improve the team around them, and then maybe get a quarterback next year. If you win enough they won enough games that there may not be a quarterback that drops to them this year too. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft, because they're a team that I think could very easily take a quarterback where they're at 20. Maybe they try and trade up. They don't trade up that often. I believe the last time they did it was to get Devin White, the linebacker. So if they trade up, do they trade up to try and get one of those quarterbacks, or do they just kind of let it ride, take someone in the second round? I'll be very curious to see what they do, because they are a team that I believe, with as well as they're run by Mike Tomlin, that they can win with subpar quarterback play and really good defensive play. I mean, we saw it. Was that last year, right? That Ben missed a bunch of – was that last year? No, 2 years ago that he was out all season, right? Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah,
and,
2 years ago.
They made the playoffs, didn't they? Or almost made the playoffs?
They came just short again.
So, I mean – and that was with Mason Rudolph playing the entire year, pretty much. So, I mean, if he could do it then, they can do it now. I don't see why they couldn't.
So my question is this: who has to be there at 20 for them to justify taking a quarterback?
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett won't fall to 20 though. The only one that
Corral
would be the one, because there's a lot of talk that he's not going to be drafted till the second round. I don't see any way Pickett and Corral make it out of the top 10. I just don't. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think either one of them falls that far. So if Howell falls, like a lot of the draft people are saying, I would, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, take him there, because I do think that he's a good quarterback. I don't know that they take him Malik Willis. I mean, the only other one I think would actually be a really good fit for their offense is Carson Strong. The problem is Carson Strong needs to be behind a good offensive line. They don't have that, and they're not going to be able to improve that, in my opinion, with like second and third round picks. So, and he's not a guy like, say what we want about Mason Rudolph. At least Mason Rudolph has like a little bit mobility. Carson Strong is not outrunning anyone. So that's why I'm very curious to see what they do, because I don't know that there's a lot they can do if they don't trade up. Last little news note here. Ryan Poles is the GM in Chicago. Matt Eberflus is the head coach. Whoever, I don't know what's his first name. Getsy was offered the offensive coordinator position per Albert Breer. Matt, your thoughts on what this means for Chicago and the prodigal son, Justin Fields?
Well, nothing helps you develop a quarterback quite like going and getting a middle of the road defensive coordinator to be the head coach. Take that from somebody who knows. I mean, that did wonders for Drew Lock and his development over the years. So probably not the greatest. If they get Getsy, he's the quarterback's coach, I believe, right now in Green Bay. I don't know how hard it is to be the quarterback coach for Aaron Rodgers, or if you actually do any coaching. You might just stand there and hold this water bottle.
Just roll the joints.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that'll do. It's hard to imagine things could be worse than they were last year for Justin Fields, but there are a lot of questions in Chicago. That's a team that has questions all over the field. I think the best comment I saw made about Ryan Poles was that they did the least amount possible, so that when they were fixing the sign where Ryan Pace was, they only had to change out 2 letters.
Oh man. I think, Pauls comes out of the Kansas City organization, and if nothing else, well, you've got a guy like Patrick Mahomes that's and Tyreek Hill, who are wild and crazy. The coaching staff is generally kind of very vanilla personality, I think. They've got one face, and I feel like Eberflus is coming in there, and his job is to keep his head down and do the work. So whoever they bring in on offense, do I think Eberflus is going to try to overtake that person? I think he's going to let them go and try to play the CEO type of role right now, because he is a new coach. That's why when you mentioned Dabal calling the plays in New York, I'm like, if I'm a first-time head coach that's young, I think I got to give it up. Let somebody take on that responsibility, at least until I get settled in. Give me a season to get my feet under me. And I feel like Eberflus will do that and let the offensive guy run the offense pretty well. I don't know much about Getsy. I agree. There's not a whole lot of you're not going to tell the Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Mannings, and Tom Brady's sort of how to be a quarterback, which I feel like that may be one of the issues with Byron Leftwich too, is that he hasn't really had to coach he hasn't had to coach up a lot of people. He's kind of just taken good guys and kept going.
Yeah, I really hope that it works out for them. This is a major hire, not just for them, but for Justin Fields, because if this doesn't work out, you don't want to get back into the QB watch. My goodness, we are just getting breaking news out of breaking news. You guys want to talk about it? I mean, it's not officially officially reported. According to CBS, Tom Brady is going to announce he is retiring.
Wow.
So, honestly, was not expecting that. I really thought he was going to play for at least one more year. If he is gone, I mean, holy crap for the NFC South. Things just opened up in a major way with Sean Payton and Tom Brady leaving. Greatest quarterback of all time.
Is Arians going to be far behind him?
Probably not. I would think Gronk's probably done too. He didn't give an inspiring quote a couple days ago about wanting to come back. I mean, good for him. I think all of us who have families and kids understood the quote that he sent out the other day, especially the amount of time he clearly puts into the game of football. So He really can't. I don't think he would have changed his legacy at all had he gone out there and won another Super Bowl. He's cemented as the greatest of all time. I doubt in our lifetimes we see a quarterback do what he did. You guys have any thoughts on him before we preview the conference championship games?
No, I think that if he retires, it's
Wait and see if it actually happens.
yeah, it's surprising in that it's happening, but it's not surprising in that he's 44 years old. He's got younger kids. His kids are like what, somewhere between like 6 and 15 or something like that. And clearly, he doesn't need the money. He's got his own business outside of football. I mean, he doesn't have anything to prove. And at some point, that competitive fire turns to business because your body just can't do it. And I think going out while he's relatively healthy is going out on his terms.
All right. Well, we have 2 games this weekend. Dennis, what is one way you can participate in possibly winning some money this weekend?
Well, your fantasy season is over for your season-long leagues, but we still have lots of opportunities with DraftKings. 4 teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. We're going to tell you who our 2 teams are here shortly. Not a new customer, you can experience the conference championship with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Well, on one of the final 4 NFL teams. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code TPPN for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Kansas City to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Can Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase do it again, Matt? I mean, Jamar Chase over 200 yards, multiple touchdowns in that first game. We saw what Gabriel Davis and Josh Allen were able to do to this defense just a week ago. Can Joe Burrow and Chase do it again?
So it's not really so much to me about Joe Burrow and Chase. You know, Kansas City doesn't have that elite secondary where they have some elite shutdown corners. We've seen that they can't really cover Chase. Now, maybe Steve Spagnuolo learned a little from the first game and will not try to just single cover him all the time with Charvarius Ward. The biggest question for me, especially after seeing last week, is can Cincinnati's line hold up? Because Tennessee caved them in and beat the shit out of Joe Burrow. And Kansas City has Chris Jones. They have Melvin Ingram. They got 4 sacks in that first meeting. If they turn it on and cave that line in, that's going to be the real thing that holds them back. And on the flip side, I think that means Cincinnati has got to establish enough of a running game that they can keep those pass rushers from just pinning their ears back.
Now, Joe Mixon averaged almost 4 yards per carry, but he only had 12 carries in that game they played in Week 17. Mixon did have 7 catches for 40 yards, though, and Uzomah had 4 for 32. The question for me is, will Cincinnati adjust how they approach Kansas City's defense, knowing that they give up that many sacks against Tennessee, and that Kansas City has, they've got Bolton, Gay, Frank Clark, Chris Jones. They've got guys chasing the quarterback down. So they're going to have to do quick passing plays and kind of do that. Be happy with 5 or 6 yards a lot of the times until something presents itself and you get them to pull back. I know in the first game, Chase was super efficient and Burrow was super efficient. Chase caught 11 of 12 targets, and Burrow completed 77% of his passes. Uh, he's going to need to probably do that again. The Bengals are the underdog, but they do have more than a puncher's chance to win this thing.
T. Higgins. I think this is the game T. Higgins goes off because I do agree with Matt. I think they will try and double cover Jamar Chase this time. And we saw what the number 2 was able to do for Buffalo and Gabriel Davis. I mean, he absolutely lit them up. And at no offense to Gabriel Davis, I think T. Higgins is better. I honestly think Tyler Boyd is better. So if either one of them can go out there and find ways to get open the way Gabriel Davis did, I think they're going to be in for a big game because regardless of how quick that defensive front line can get through that offensive line. Joe Burrow is very smart and he diagnoses defenses very well. I think he'll be able to get the ball out quickly. And that secondary really struggled last week, even when Josh Allen did have time. And when he didn't, but he was still able to kind of just rip that defense to shreds. I really am excited for this game. I think it's going to be a good one. Dennis, what does the Chiefs defense need to do to get a different outcome this time?
They need to get pressure on the quarterback, and I guess they need to sack him. They have the 4th fewest sacks, but they have the 7th most knockdowns. So they get to the quarterback. They just get there a little bit late, and he's getting the ball off. So they have a high pressure rate. They need to convert that into sacks. They have won. Let's see. What's my note here say? They've won just one game with him under 200 yards passing. Oh, that's a Jimmy G note. I wonder what's doing in.
Oh yeah, Burrow's. I was going to say is 4-0 when he throws for less than 200 yards.
But Cincinnati has allowed 55 sacks versus Kansas City's 28. Kansas City is better in virtually every meaningful category than Cincinnati when it comes to offense. So Burrow is going to have to play another efficient game and stay upright. The offensive line is getting better. They've gelled. They've surprisingly, despite giving up 55 sacks, they have been they've made plays when they need to, and they're going to have to continue that. If they can make plays, and then the Cincinnati defense, if DJ Reader plays out of his mind again, I think that's going to put that Chiefs defense in a mode where they're really trying to pressure the quarterback. Pressure is what Kansas City's defense needs to be able to flip the outcome of this game.
Yeah, I go back. I think where this game is actually going to be won is in that matchup between Cincinnati's offense and Kansas City's defense. Kansas City needs to be able to get pressure with the front four so that they can play a little bit better pass defense. As I noted when I was talking about Chase, they consistently tried to single cover him, and it didn't work. They're going to have to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both kind of mentioned it. That secondary is going to have to double cover Chase, and obviously they're going to have to get pressure on Burrow. And I wonder if maybe they negate some of that with some quick screen passes to Joe Mixon. Dennis mentioned earlier, like he was involved and was producing, but he really wasn't that involved in the game earlier with just 12 carries. I wonder if they try and get him going a little bit more against this Kansas City defense to slow down that rush. I'm taking the Bengals. I don't even care. The Bills got knocked out. I hate life. Like, give me the Bengals. I think they pull off the win.
I'm going to stick with the Chiefs. I'm pulling for the Bengals. I just think the Chiefs are going to win it.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I would be happy if the Bengals won. That would be kind of a fascinating story, but I just feel like it's tracking for the Chiefs. I thought whoever won last week between Kansas City and Buffalo was going.
So did I until Kansas City won, and now I'm all in on the Chiefs. For the next game, the Sunday night game, right there, the second game. I don't know why I asked that. There's only 2 games this weekend. The San Francisco 49ers are at the Los Angeles Rams, home of the Super Bowl as well. So the Rams have a chance to play in their home stadium for the Super Bowl if they can somehow find a way to beat the 49ers. They have lost 6 straight to the 49ers, Matt. How do they reverse that trend?
Yeah, and that's the big question. The last time that the Rams beat the 49ers was the regular season when they were on the way to go into the Super Bowl. Since then, the 49ers have had their number. The 49ers knocked them out of the playoffs in 2019, cost them the number 2 seed in week 18 this season. I think the big issue kind of for the Rams has been that they've seemingly only played one good half the last half of the season. Against Baltimore, they really struggled, had to come back to win. Against the 49ers, they took a huge lead and then kind of blew it away. They played one really great half against the Cardinals. The Cardinals weren't good enough to do anything about it. They played one really good half against Tampa Bay and nearly lost that game. If they do that again, there's only so many times you can get away with that. They need to play 4 consistent quarters, and hopefully being at home with the shot at being the second consecutive team to host the Super Bowl in their home stadium will be enough to get them hyped.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch in week 18 when McVay and the Rams got up 17 points on the 49ers. McVay seemed to get his butt cheeks all clenched up and kind of pulled back. He just was he honestly it seemed like he played scared. And he's got to get out there, and if he gets that lead, he's got to keep pounding. They've got to step on their throat. If they let San Francisco turn the momentum in that game in week 18, San Francisco was down 17-0 and got the ball back with just a couple minutes left, went down, scored the field goal, came out in the second half with the ball and scored a touchdown. All of a sudden it was a one-score game. I don't know. The Rams defense gives up about 40 more yards per game than San Francisco. So despite having Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, hopefully Von Miller, hopefully that's like come down substantially since Von Miller got there. I guess I should have looked at it from that perspective before I started talking about it. But I don't know. The Rams this past season, San Francisco beat the Rams with one game from Jimmy under 200 yards and another one with him over 300 yards. To me, I feel like McVay has to coach loose and let him play. He has to be smart enough to know, too, that I love the Cam Akers story, but if Akers is getting you 2 yards a pop, you need to set him down.
More importantly, if he's putting the ball on the carpet, you got to.
Yeah.
My God.
Well, word is Darrell Henderson's going to be back and likely playing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that we see a ton of Cam Akers or Sony Michel. I'm with you. Lou, they've lost 6 straight times. I think you just got to come out there and open it all up, play loose, go for the gusto. Do not hold back. When you get the lead, step on their throat, because we do know the 49ers. I think the 49ers are clearly going to keep it close, and all it takes, as we saw last week, was one play, and it was that blocked punt for a touchdown that can completely flip this game on its head. It's going to be a very good game, but this offense has got to come out. They've got to rely on Stafford. This is why they went out and got him. Let him have his moment. He got that monkey off his back a couple weeks ago, getting the big playoff win. He's won another game. This is your chance to show everybody why you went out and got him. Dennis, what do the 49ers need from Jimmy G to get another win in this one?
I think he has to not turn the ball over. I know Shanahan's going to come out and he's going to run the ball. He wants to establish the run. I know those are, that's a no phrase in football nowadays, but that's what he's going to want to run the ball with Mitchell and with Deebo Samuel, and then take shots with Ayuk, Samuel, and Kittle. And if he doesn't hit those shots, then I think Jimmy starts to feel the pressure. We're not going to see anything from Trey Lance. I'd be highly surprised if we haven't seen him late in the season. I'm not expecting him to come in and all of a sudden run a goal line package or something. But Deebo Samuel has been balling out. Kittle has been inconsistent in the receiving game, but he's a monster in the blocking game, whether he's catching the ball or not. He does not he doesn't get frustrated when he isn't getting the ball. He just honestly kind of takes it out on the running backs or on the linebackers. So if Jimmy can convert when he gets an opportunity and not turn the ball over, I feel like it's a 220-yard pass game for Jimmy is plenty enough to win it.
Sorry, most inopportune times. Yeah, one thing that was striking to me last week is they kept talking about how Jimmy G seemed like a cat with 9 lives, that he was continuously getting away with throws that should have been picked off. And maybe that speaks to, Green Bay not having it together. Maybe it was the injuries are piling up. He dinged up his shoulder in the first playoff game. He's still got a thumb issue. There's much like the Rams, there's only so many times you can get away with only playing one half and winning games. There's only so many times that the 49ers are going to be able to overcome some horrendous play from Jimmy G. That first half against the Rams in the regular season, I was legitimately wondering if they were going to bring Trey Lance in. I also have legitimately wondered why San Francisco hasn't run any specialty packages with Lance in the playoffs as they were in the regular season to at least shake things up, to get some of the pressure off of Jimmy. They have enough weapons on both sides of the ball to be able to compete in this game. He cannot make mistakes like that.
Yeah, I mean, the mistakes part is clearly the biggest thing, because I'm with you. Like, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but when does that luck eventually run out? And I think this could be that week. The Packers they got some of their star players back, but they had been injured all season. They were coming back for that first week. Like, how ready were they for those games? I don't think Jalen Ramsey's going to make that mistake. Aaron Donald coming after him. Like, I do think this is going to be a very close game. I actually think both these games are going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm going to take the Rams to squeak out a 1-point victory here.
I've got the Rams too. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I got to stick with them now.
I have the Rams too, because I think we've seen Chiefs 49ers, and it was not a Super Bowl to remember.
Yeah. So really quick before we get out of here, we will save our QB stuff for Monday, since we went long. To pull a Felix, we ran long. We apologize.
I need to stop hiring all these coaches.
I agree with you on that. And then the breaking news, during the show, we were ready to move on to the next subject 20 minutes ago, and we couldn't. Want to ask you guys some quick questions, and then Dennis is going to tell us how to help improve your dynasty teams this offseason. Jamar Chase or Tyreek Hill, who has the better game this week?
Man, that's a tough one. I'll let Matt go first.
I'm going to take Chase.
I'm going to take Hill. I just feel like Chase is the number one weapon in Cincinnati, as is Tyreek Hill. But we've also seen games where Chase only gets 4 or 5 targets, and Higgins will get 8 or 9. We don't see a lot of 8 or 9 target games from Mecole Hardman or Byron Pringle.
I'm going to take Chase as well, but just barely. Just to point out, for anybody who does not remember, the last time that these two played, this was the game Tyreek Hill came back from COVID. So he was not fully healthy in that game. That's why he did not. I think he went out in the first quarter, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was a big Byron Pringle game.
Yeah,
they were making all the Christmas jokes.
He was still feeling the effects of that. Burrow or Mahomes? I'm taking Burrow. I picked the Bengals to win. Doesn't mean he can't have a better game even if the Chiefs win, but who has a better game for you, Dennis?
I'm going to go with Mahomes. I'm picking them to win. The Chiefs are a throw-first team. They throw to set up the run, and then they don't run very much. Cincinnati will run the ball with Joe Mixon.
I'm going to go with Mahomes, but I'm also afraid that this means 3 more weeks of Brittany Matthews.
Let's not go there. Last one, Deebo, Samuel, or Cooper Kupp? Matt, who has the better day Sunday night?
Little Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp too. I just feel, Kupp is a 10, 12, 14 target guy. Deebo has to make up for some of his targets in the running game. And while he's been successful, he could also have an 8 8 rushes for 30 and 3 catches for 30 kind of game.
I am taking Cooper Kupp as well with the Rams winning. Dennis, before we get out of here, let everybody know how they can help improve their dynasty teams this offseason.
Do you want to dominate your dynasty league? The Dynasty GM from dynastynerds.com is the tool you need to get the job done. It integrates seamlessly with your MFL, Sleeper, Flea Flicker, and FFPC leagues. Use the League Analyzer to identify your team's strengths and weaknesses. Use the Trade Calculator to put together league-winning deals, and the Player Shares Tracker to keep track of your rostership. You get exclusive rankings and more. Use code ROUNDTABLE for 15% off the monthly or annual subscription. Bundle the Dynasty GM with the Nerd Herd, where we just dropped a whole bunch of new All-22 film in the film room for your rookie class prep. But bundle them together to save even more.
All right, so everybody enjoy the games this weekend. I mean, if you really can't wait till Sunday, I believe the Shrine Bowl is on tomorrow, so you can watch that. Have some of the rookies in the upcoming class will play in that game, and then obviously we've got 2 great games Sunday. Dennis, Matt, and myself will be back again on Monday to recap these games and quite possibly finally get to these QB profiles. Everybody enjoy the weekend. We will talk to you guys